Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Res with your favorite hosts,
Inelia
and Larry. Yay!
And no music.
Oh no.
What happened to our jingle?
I don't know. Where's our jingle?
Did you lose track of it?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice if you find it.
Well, we're still open. The competition's still open, right? So send your jingles in.
Okay.
And we can take turns with our jingles.
Yeah, last week's was pretty darn cute.
Oh yeah, it's really cute.
That was a top contender, honestly.
Yes.
Okay. So, it's a interesting week.
It is. Can you tell us about it?
Are you going to sneeze, honey?
Yeah.
Oh no. It's not Sia Vision. We're not recording this on video, luckily. That's an interesting way to stop a sneeze.
You didn't know about that one? You just squeeze your nose and your sneeze never comes. Sometimes it does anyways.
No, I was taught to push on your upper lip.
Really?
Yeah.
Does that work?
Sometimes. Not very often.
If you squeeze your nose when your sneeze is coming, usually it does work.
Okay, well, I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to sneeze. Where did you learn that?
When I was little, I don't remember.
It's just one of those things you had forever?
Yeah.
Well. Good to know.
Where do we get our guidance?
Where do you get this guidance from, how to stop a sneeze?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
You say, well, I just knew it when I was a kid. Who taught you it?
Somebody did. And I decided to integrate it into my programs, right? My knowledge base.
Right. So, one of the things I think that would be interesting to talk about today is, I think it's starting to come up in a lot of people's lives, as I would say the splitting process accelerates. I think that's a safe way to say it. I remember we started a long time ago with Act 1 and Scene 1.
Yes.
That was started a couple of years ago. And I'm pretty sure there's probably Act 1, Scene 1s that have been going on for 30 or 40 or 50 years even.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the real Act 1, Scene 1, it actually has been happening for a long time. It's like completely oblivious.
Would you like to share what you feel that one is, the Act 1, Scene 1?
Well,
that we were oblivious to.
I can't even guess, but as you go back in time, you see the things that lead to the ability to have what we could call Act 1, Scene 1 2 years ago. It's like how many years ago was Twin Tower stuff?
1990s, I think.
1990s.
I'm just getting very distracted with Phoebe snoring.
She's snoring.
Yes.
Is this a high frequency distraction?
Yes.
Yes, very
we
much.
talked about
She's
this.
the cutest one from last week, remember?
Yes, yeah.
Phoebe, are you the high frequency distraction girl?
Yeah, she's snoring right now. It's super cute.
Yeah, she had the best day and the worst day yesterday.
I know, best day and worst day yesterday.
She got bunked by a metal door thingy.
Yeah.
She went, I. She
And then
cried. And then
the giant Tiny landed on her.
Giant Tiny stepped on her back foot.
Yeah.
And she went, I. But the whole time she was in heaven doing whatever she was doing.
Yeah.
She was on the beach running like crazy.
Yeah.
So she just needed a little bit of hug from her mommy.
Mm-hmm.
And then her dad to pack her around for about, 15 minutes. And then it was like, let me go, Dad. Let me go.
Yeah, it's over.
Not a worry since.
What a great distraction. What were we doing just before that? What were we talking about? Do you remember?
Well, I think what I was trying to say was, at some point, we realized Act 1, Scene 1. For us, that's Act 1, Scene 1. It's the first time we noticed, hey, there's something going on.
Yes.
And for many of us, this Act 1, Scene 1 was, hey, look at that thing. That's the most whatever thing that ever happened in the whole world. That's so serious. We really need to XYZ.
Yeah.
And in the Act 1, Scene 1 world, the drama is designed to push you to voluntarily choose something. Necessarily, obviously, low frequency, but oftentimes you don't need to be manipulated into choosing high frequency things, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need a manipulation to do that.
So one of the things that was very clear to me in 2011 was that we moved from the entire collective and collectives of Earth expanding their awareness and going into a higher frequency and becoming adults, basically, to only a small percentage of them doing that, and the rest continuing with the light-dark paradigm. So basically there was a split. Mm-hmm. But before that, the plan was everybody does it. Everybody jumps into the new paradigm. And this bringing up the choice, that was Act 1. And I'm thinking maybe it started in the 1800s, but definitely in the 1920s or 1910s, for sure, 100%. Mm-hmm. This began. And the way it worked was everybody was agreeing to do this jump in evolution at around 1960s and 70s. It was supposed to start happening, very gradually going up, and all the systems in place for us now to basically be in the new paradigm. However, the first act was multifolded into creating a situation where the choice of the person stayed unconscious enough so that their choice came from programming, mm-hmm. right? And an addiction to drama and hardship. So that began in those years in a way in which the way in which they did it was basically deplete the human collective from the leaders, alpha males and females, creating wars to get rid of these young men that were later on, if they had stayed alive, led the path into a higher frequency thing. At the same time, they depleted, or they changed the human diet to be depleted of life force, so that even though in the 1920s and even 30s and 40s people still had an enormous amount of energy and constructed an enormous amount of things in the wilderness and just about anywhere on the planet, they were able to live healthily and really create and forge through to living well into a situation where here in the United States is a perfect example, but I can see it also in Ireland and among the working classes as well in England. And Spain. Those are the places I know because I lived there in those for many years, and it was a very strong drive to create alcoholism, a dependency in alcohol, mm-hmm. so that a lot of attention went from that creative spark, that energy, especially in men, into an energy of where's my next drink.
Right? Remember the Noah movie we were watching? Noah, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago, maybe 5, where God floods the planet.
Oh,
and he gets on the
yeah,
ship.
Yeah.
There's all this
Noah's
drama.
Ark, yeah.
Yeah, and all the drama ensues on the ship, and then finally the water goes away and everything's great and the animals run free, and he goes off into a cave naked to grow grapes.
Yes,
so he can make wine and get drunk.
Yes.
On the beach.
Exactly, that is the thing, right?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a very huge...
that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. So, and then, the whole drug cartel thing, and it's been already proven that the majority of the drug cartels in the Americas were driven and paid by the CIA, and that's in the CIA files on the internet. It's not like it's a secret, right?
Not a secret.
So...
But it's a secret. It's a secret for you if you want to be asleep to it.
Yeah. But
so staying asleep to it is part of the split.
Yeah.
Part of the split.
And all the governments around the world that were moving into the new paradigm structure of people choose what they want and all these type of things, those were all removed. The presidents were killed and all that, again, by the CIA and other companies. So all of this like there was a lot of, around the world also, there was a lot of ritual sacrifices in mass scale sacrifices to kill the spirit of the new paradigm. So it was like, yeah, you're right, it's not Act 1 right now, but although we feel it might be if we just woke up or we were oblivious to what was happening around the planet before that. But the amount of energy a person has today compared to the amount of energy a person had in the 1920s is radically different.
I know,
radically different.
People can be completely exhausted from getting up in the late morning and going to work on their Zoom. That's the energy. That's it. Yeah. And then, of course, you have lunches and breaks. And if you're working from home, you have self-voluntary breaks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go get a breath of air and walk around and still at the end of that day, whatever time it is, probably if you're workahomers, you can skip out a little early as long as you got your email with you, I imagine.
Yeah.
That's what 6 hours of Zooming maybe, or 6 hours of online checking in on work, and that's still can tire you out.
Yeah.
And you haven't climbed a single mountain,
mm-hmm.
or packed any water
mm-hmm.
up the hill,
yep.
or chopped your firewood, or built a fire, or ran around for 2 hours collecting the food in the woods, or any of that stuff.
Or building a house in the middle of the woods.
On your back, on your side time.
Yeah, and while having a baby.
With two babies.
Yeah, while giving birth to a baby. Okay, I need to make the jams now for the winter.
And the food that you have available, oftentimes winter especially, is, what you can preserve with a bunch of salt or...
Yeah, or sugar.
Sugar or some form of honey or...
Oils.
Or smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you might eat once a day or something.
Mm-hmm.
Less input, but way more output.
Yeah.
Exponentially way more output.
Yeah. So that's part of that first act.
I think also part of that first act was the toddlerification of the
masses.
Yeah,
keep them toddlerified.
Right, and the in some way the adults
mm-hmm.
who finally get to the age of adults have been toxified to the degree that they're Alzheimer's or all the other stuff. They're developed their time that they would be.
Well, the wisdom keepers.
The wisdom keepers is destroyed by toxins.
Mm-hmm.
So the aluminum in the or whatever.
All the jab things.
Ouch.
All the
in my arms, whatever. All that stuff accumulates over a lifetime, and then at the point where, you should be
leading
40 or 50 years of adult here. I have enough experience of living. I know what's coming and how it works and what to do. It's like my living parts are like autopilot, right?
Yeah.
And I can spend my head space on expanding my awareness a little bit, and then collecting those expanded awareness nuggets, which might be like my life plan or focus or something like that, and apply them to what I'm doing. Not just myself, but the next out, the next out, the next out, right? Because you have enough energy and space to go past you, past your survival, right?
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about is how to recuperate all that energy and mental clarity, and we'll do that on an hour 2.
We'll get in some good details on that, because we're experimenting with quite a few
items to see how they work.
That should back our energies.
Yeah. So, but the other thing, like you mentioned, how an individual has been kept in a toddler state for most of their life, and then destroyed when they should be the wisdom keepers. They become the opposite and mentally disabled and everything like that. I wanted to tell a little story. So, yesterday I was listening to a book, an audiobook. It's just a novel that my son Brett and I listen to. We choose series or whatevers, and we listen to them together, and then we can discuss them. Anyway, he found this series of books. It's children's books And I was listening to them, and several times the main character, who is a person who is immortal, became immortal in the 1800s. She kept saying, "Oh, this kid, that is running around, he should be home. But of course he's 14, and when I was a kid, 14, you're an adult." So it's hard for me to remember, oh, wait, he's not an adult. Nowadays, he's a child. But when I was a kid, when I was 14 and my brother was 14, we had to figure out our own lives because we were...
You were adults at 14.
Yes, exactly. Right? So her language sometimes she kept mentioning, but we were actually adults. We were not these types of 14-year-olds. We were actually knowledgeable and had skills and were expected to contribute to the family and the tribe. Mm-hmm. Right? And it was like, yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I lived in a neighborhood of England where one of my neighbors, well, the couple was in there, she was in her late 80s and he was in his 90s. And he was strong and he kept his yard going and his house, he was really strong. She passed away a few years after I moved there, but he carried on and he was very strong. He was really strong, mentally strong, physically strong. And the only thing they had is like he had to use a cane, when he went for long walks, he'd use a cane. Short walks, he didn't, right? But one of the things that he used to teach me how to grow food in the garden. And one of the conversations we had was that when he turned 14 in England, he was legally an adult, and he had to go out and find a job and provide for his family. Mm-hmm. Because his family, his mom and dad, and about 14 or 15 brothers and sisters, and he was one of the older ones, so he had to contribute to the family and basically take care of the younger ones too when he was there. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, I'm still a kid and I'll play computer games while you mom and dad go and work and provide everything for me and drive me everywhere so I can do all my extracurricular activities and all these type of things. It was not like that at all. And I said, really, 14? He said, yeah, 14. I had to go and find myself a job. And I said, well, what did you do? Well, at first I went to the mines, but I didn't like it because when you go into the mines, you know that you're not going to live very long because the lungs get full of the
dust.
The dust and the fumes, and then you're going to die in your 40s or so. And you go in knowing this, so I decided, nah, I'm gonna do something else. And he started telling his stories of all he was a sailor. He went, in the ocean. He worked in factories. Oh my gosh, farms. Mm-hmm. He did everything. Mm-hmm. But he started at 14, and he was expected to, right? And then for most of his life, until all his brothers and sisters were all grown up, and even afterwards looking after his parents, he didn't think, oh, this is my wage, my money, and I'm going to do whatever I want with it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like that for him. Mm-hmm. It was more like he was always part of that money throughout his life went to his parents, so that they could take care of his brothers and sisters, even when he was traveling. I think when he went out to sea, he didn't even get paid. The parents got paid. And then when he came back, they had a little bundle that was his percentage, His share. His share, yeah, his share. So it was a very different, and this was after the Industrial Revolution. So it was very, very different. But, and even the Industrial Revolution, we can say, was a move to divide the tribe, to divide the family unit, to divide and make the person... me and myself instead of me and my family, or me and my tribe, or me and my village, right? Mm-hmm. So that was one of the first acts. Divide the tribe, divide the village, divide the family. That was one of the first ones. Make them into singular units, or very small units, the family unit. And now even the family unit is split when I came here and I saw in the United States, and I saw that it was a culture, very proud culture, of sending your kids to college as far away from you as possible when they turned 18. I thought, wow, where did that come from? And when I looked into it, it was specifically designed to get the kids away from the family unit and away from their tribe, because those are formative years. Between the ages of 18 and 24, there's formative years where you link and you find a partner, you might get married, you find your place in the world and everything, and you do it away from your family, away from your tribe, away from your neighborhood. You're very unlikely to come back.
Is that why I think it's the Mormons in Salt Lake City area, all of their kids go to college at the same place, and they're supposed to meet their wives there.
Yeah.
Remember our
they bypassed
boat
it,
builder?
right? Yeah.
His son he just got done with his mission and he's back, and he was doing a little bit of work with his dad for a month or so on the boat. And he's like, I can't wait to go to college so I can find my wife.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they bypassed it, right? So they could continue with the group tribe energy.
Right.
But yeah, it's the Act One. I mean, that started a long time ago. Yeah, it's
Act One, Scene One, except for like Homer Odyssey. We've listened to that movie since 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago. Homer's Odyssey. And we watched the same movie over and over and over and over again. Follows the same plot.
Which is
the hero's journey.
Can you explain the hero's journey?
I'm pretty sure if you do a little research, you find almost all movies that get approved follow the same plot line.
Yes. So what is the plot line?
Is the same one originally, quote, originally told in Homer's Odyssey, which I imagine is a story that's been told before even that, which is a hero's journey. The hero overcomes obstacles. It looks terrible. There's no way for them to succeed. Somehow they miraculously do. With a team. Yeah, I don't know the whole plot line.
And then what happens at the end?
They succeed.
And what does the success look like?
They win everything.
They come back victorious to the original location.
Yes, right? Come back victorious to the original location.
Yeah, because leaving and coming back is not the same as never have left at all. Who said that? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I'm not quoting it properly, but it's a quote from somebody.
Yeah. So I was thinking the other day about that Act One, Scene One thing when we first talked about that a couple of years ago, and acknowledging that it's actually, a movie that's been in play for a long time. It had a scene adjusted. We're going to have a split instead of a full everyone ascension type raise in the frequency of everything.
Yeah, so let me just remind the one that I was saying. Scene one was making the collective humans here unconscious enough so that they thought, or they would choose to stay in a light-dark paradigm instead of evolving into a light paradigm. That was the aim of many of the wars and the mushing up of people's brains as they get older, and taking away their energy, physical energy, and addicting them to drugs and alcohol.
Right. The elders we listen to are aware and not asleep. Correct. Their brains aren't mush. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
If all the elders' brains weren't to mush, I guess is the only way to say it, there would be no hope, no chance of carrying out Act One, Scene One, a complete sleeper split.
No.
It would be impossible. It would have to be a conscious, aware split. You would have to yes, I know, but this is the one I want. Yeah. I want some drama.
Yeah,
some suffering.
Some torture, some war.
Yeah.
Some victimhood and some aggression, martyrdom and savior.
So, in a degree, at some level, it's free choice, obviously, and a choice to continue it, but the choice is an unconscious choice instead of a conscious choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an unconscious choice both for a lot of light-dark split and also for light split. There's a huge number of light
people who chose
choosers who are also completely oblivious to it.
Yeah.
But they have also made choices that support them moving into a light, but they're not because of that, right? They're because of something else. What is that something else? Is that their life plan or their
I think there's their higher self choice,
higher
right?
self choice? So I would have thought that a higher self choice, would be independent of whatever manipulations that a unconscious, conscious sort of like manipulation level on this reality in the dream, I would think your higher self would see through it.
Yeah.
And not go along with manipulations.
Manipulation is also a choice. Do you choose to be manipulated?
And to stay asleep.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go there. And I want... How did they know? How did they know when they said they were going to come here that the plan had changed from everyone to like 80% are going to stay light dark and 20% are going to split to the other reality? How do the higher selves deal with that change in life plan?
Because our choices, even from a higher self perspective, are not written in stone.
And they're not
we always have the choice to change our mind. Always. That's the nature of free will. You can always change your mind.
So it could be unsettling to have come to this planet for the purpose of raising the frequency of the whole planet, and then find out midstream or at the point of your maximum theoretical power that now that plan's different. We're not going to do that. We're doing something different. Does that happen all the time?
I don't know about all the time.
The collective decision changes?
I don't know about all the time. I've only had experiences of incarnation for 50-something years, so I can only tell you mine. And I can see that it happened while I've been alive once. So
not that often.
No.
And also, I think that might be a part of the reason that much of the light and light dark are taking their decisions in the dream instead of out of the dream. Because I'm sensing that if everyone were aware of it, then the choices they're making right now wouldn't be the same ones, or it would be very much harder to carry it out. Probably it would be very hard to carry it out, because really, if even people picking light dark aren't going to fall for an obvious thing.
Ooh, well, that reminds me. Yes.
Barrel without
part of the expansion of awareness is that you connect at an experiential telepathy level with other people that are at your frequency, right? Or even people who are not at your frequency. So that reminds me of, if you haven't gone to Walk With Me Now yet or subscribe to Subscribestar, we're having a live class on experiential telepathy, because that is part of who we are and what we are. Part of you as an empowered individual. You have the skill, but you need to, it's like a muscle you haven't used, so it atrophies. We're going to teach you how to reactivate it and how to start using that. But it's like that decision, like you said, it would be impossible if we were all awake and aware to have a light dark paradigm anyways, like even at all. And the answer is no, you wouldn't be able to, because the low frequency activities that happen can only happen in a sense of separation, but also can only happen if they're hidden and in the shadows. And when you have a connection, a deep connection, an experiential connection, whenever you choose, with other people, with all of the human collective on the planet, nothing can be hidden. And the actual reasons behind things will become known by you. So, for example, let's say Washington and Oregon and California decide to go to war. Right?
Okay, yep.
Let's imagine that. And everybody in Oregon and California can tap into the experiential data of that decision, and they find out there is a couple of rich guys or rich companies that want to make more money, or maybe they want to have the land that at the moment is owned by
150,000 different people.
Yeah. So they decide to create a war in order to bomb that land and kill everybody there so they can take it over, right? Or just to sell guns, because they sell guns and bullets and stuff, and they're running, they want more
and
money.
probably bandages too.
Yeah, bandages, yeah.
Guns, bullets, bandages.
Drugs.
And then rebuilding companies.
Yeah, rebuilding companies, rebuilding all the roads and everything.
Construction.
Mines. Yeah, or maybe they have land somewhere else and they tell people, hey, you can come over here and buy this land.
Yeah.
So they leave the war zone to go somewhere else and boom.
Create a push-pull, artificial push-pull.
Yeah. But everybody would be aware of it. Wait, what?
I know people in Oregon, they're perfectly fine. Or I know people in California, they're perfectly fine. I'm not going to go shoot them.
No, not that. Not even that. Hey, I can see that this war...
You guys are just trying to trick us.
Yeah, are trying to trick us. So, no, that's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, do you see why that's impossible? To continue like that paradigm when everybody's aware and connected at that level of awareness, it's impossible for them to have a low frequency engagement.
Completely agree. And that's, I think, I agree with you 100%. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And that's part of the process of the split, that we're just trying to become awake and aware too, right? Which is asleep, picking light, dark.
Yeah.
Awake, picking light, dark.
Yeah. Asleep, picking light.
Asleep, picking light. And awake, picking light.
Yeah.
And we'll often take those terms as a derogatory. Oh, he's a sleeper. He's sleeping through the process. But that's not accurate. That's judgment, right?
Yeah, that's more like righteousness and judgment.
That's righteousness and judgment. Yeah. It's perfectly fine to have the experience of going through the split without even knowing there's a split going on. And picking whatever reality it is you want to experience without being engaged in the whole, hey, everybody wake up, this is what's going on. You don't have to wake from the dream to go through the split. But there are some who probably need to, right? Because, well, they want to experience it
awake. Yes.
Right. So it's a simple choice of how do you want to experience this? Knowing what's happening or not knowing what's happening.
Right.
Now, some people have to have the not knowing it's happened to make the choice that they made.
Yeah.
Because if they knew what's happening, they wouldn't choose that.
Right.
So that's where it's a voluntary choice.
Yeah.
To experience a thing in that asleep state.
Yes.
So going around and slapping them up and say, hey, wake up, wake up, wake up. That's the opposite of the right thing to do.
Yes.
Because what's going to happen if you try to wake up someone who's asleep picking their light dark split, and you're trying to wake them up and make them change their mind? What's going to happen, do you think?
Battle.
You're going to get drawn into the light dark paradigm, right?
Right, through righteousness, savior, martyrdom, all the above.
So can you, as a awake, choosing light, get dragged into light dark and continuation and feeding the light dark and sort of like hamstringing your own process?
Yes.
Could you go from having chosen awareness of light to go to, well, I'm going to be awake and actually pick light dark? Can you be kind of tricked into it?
Yes.
Oh man, you guys better be careful.
But the tricking is not you being a victim. The tricking is you deciding to be tricked.
Yes. Because
if
you're responsible and awake, then you are falling for it, knowing you're falling for it.
Yes, exactly.
And so you can say, oops, say, oh, wait.
Ignoring all the signs, ignoring all the niggles, and the niggles, the signals, the knowings, ignoring all those, That's a kind of conscious awareness of going in there.
So wait.
Because you ignore them.
Right. But. Here's a but. You ready for the but?
Yep.
The but from the awake and aware that you're doing this part is at some point you become even aware that you're doing it.
Yes.
Like right now, you're probably listening. You've probably done this, try to wake up somebody wearing a mask, for example, or whatever. And it had like righteous indignation or who knows what. It's like, gosh, you people, exhausted, whatever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that now you pick the light dark reality.
No, it means you fell for it for a bit.
It means you fell for it for a second and you've pulled yourself back out and went, oh, wait a minute.
Wait, I'm feeling
this is
low frequency
niggles.
energies here. I'm feeling annoyed, frustrated, righteous, and
Yes.
oh, those are all feeding the low paradigm, the low frequency paradigms.
I'm feeding that. I didn't sign up for that. I'm signed up for something else.
Yeah, so why am I spending all my energy feeling these feelings when I could be spending all that energy creating a new paradigm, embodying that new paradigm, and finding really good allies to create that beautiful paradigm?
Yeah, exactly. Remember the homework that we put out for I'm pretty sure it was last month's Subscribe Star? Or was it one of our calls? Yeah. We had homework for the month. Yes. Do you remember? Or the week?
Yeah. Was something like that. I don't know.
It was
maybe somebody can remind us.
But the homework was to walk up the river and collect a crystal.
Yes.
So if you're awake and aware of the split and your high frequency, your homework for the month was to go out to the river.
Not river, but just go
creek,
out into
the woods,
into Gaia and collect beautiful crystals.
Into the desert, into the whatever terrain you have, and to find a crystal. Mm-hmm. That was your homework. For
light beings, yeah. Well, the dark beings, their homework is create a war.
Yeah.
Create financial collapse and create health crises all over the world and all these type of things.
Right, that's their
homework. We get to go out and collect crystals. Yay!
Yeah, but the point is that doing that, even knowing that was our homework, only one person I know
did it.
Answered, raised their hand. Yes. Yeah, I did that.
Yeah,
nobody quite a few did it anyway because they do it, but they didn't.
But not
do
with
it
the consciousness of
the
homework.
For that being
the homework for the month.
And that is the perfect example of disengaging. Disengaging from the high-low, light-dark frequency split energy and empowering it, and empowering the other, the one you're here to embody. Mm-hmm. Because there's not many of those wars, economic collapses, or pandemics, when you're hunting for crystals in the forest. Yeah. Probably won't find any.
Right.
Anyway, it's a process. Accept it, I guess. Accept it's a process. Follow your niggles and your plan. Now, just saying that is a little easy to just say. Mm-hmm. How do we actually know we're following a niggle?
Well, it's a couple of things. One of them, go to ineliabenz.com and buy the course, if you haven't got it yet, called Your Angels and Guides.
Because niggles aren't all high frequency.
Right. Right.
I got a niggle, but it not necessarily
not necessarily high frequency. And then you're going to do an exercise called Clean Your Entourage, which means you clean all low frequency entities and beings from your life.
Yes.
You clean up their capacity to influence you.
To give you niggles.
Yeah, basically.
Because oftentimes we'll engage or enlist guides and angels from a low frequency state of desperation or terror or survival or something to help us through that, right?
Yeah, or to have that experience.
Okay, have that experience.
Yeah. So also in that course you're going to learn the languages that you can create in order to communicate clearly with your angels and guides. But also remember that your own authority, your own higher self, your own expanded awareness is able to communicate with you in many, many ways. And those ways are things that you have figured out somehow in life. And there's lots of examples of those niggles coming from that area of life, right? From that expanded awareness that you are your higher self.
Oftentimes we'll use things like synchronicities to say, hey, hey, hey. Mm-hmm. And in this case, most recently, we've given you the language of distractions.
Yes.
When you get a distraction, to look.
Yeah, just do what were you doing before?
So that exclamation points it.
Yes. Yeah.
And a high frequency distraction is handy.
Yeah.
Those are a way to follow a niggle.
Mm-hmm. I find that if I follow the path that I've chosen as a high frequency being, I feel really good. I feel very happy.
Mm-hmm.
But when I veer away from it, I feel nauseous, like physically nauseous. And that can be if I'm in a city that I don't know and I need to get somewhere, I can actually follow that guidance system to get to where I want to go without even looking at a map. If I turn the corner and I feel nauseous, I turn around, U-turn, come back to the other road, and if I turn again and I feel good, then that's the way I go. And it takes a while, so it takes a lot longer than a GPS system or a map, because you have to turn around so many times. But eventually you get there.
And if you
It's
exercise
amazing.
it, you get better at it, of course.
Yeah, of
if
course.
you use it right now, of course, I say, hey, Siri, take me here. Yeah. And, you go there, mostly.
But it's like the guidance system, I'm just using the map thing, because it's not just about spiritual things, and it's not just about really major things. You can practice with small things. You can practice your guidance system with small things, and then you learn that language. And then you can use that language to make major decisions in your life.
Very cool. So, Angels and Guides course, good thing.
Yeah.
If you're Walk With Me Now, it basically is right there, right?
Or it might be. I'm not actually sure. I think, it is. It is. I saw the link there today. Okay. It is there, yes, in Walk With Me Now. It's in the library. And with regards to the upcoming class that we're going to do about experiential telepathy, that is also, by developing that skill, you will also be able to be in a much easier situation of following your own higher self-guidance. And like I said earlier, you will be able to be in the live class in Subscribestar or Walk With Me Now. But if you don't want to subscribe to those things, you'll be able to buy it from the ineliabenz.com store after the fact, right? The recording.
Yeah.
So it's not a big deal.
So if you missed it, don't worry, it's still there.
Yeah.
You can get it.
Yeah.
And if you're on Subscribestar, then you'll get the recording with it, right?
Oh yeah. You get the recording and also a Q&A session for Walk With Me Now and Subscribestar. There's a Q&A session. So there's an hour lecture and then a Q&A session that follows. And the Q&A session we don't put into the one in the store, because often it's very personal items that people bring in.
Right.
And
we wouldn't be appropriate.
No, it's not appropriate to put that in our product. So
we don't do that.
Yeah. But that's part of those following your guidance, following your niggles. Part of that main guidance, and I talk about it all the time, is a high frequency human collective. And that you can directly access that. And also I mentioned Gaia, and to me Gaia is just the spirit, the essence, the sentient aspect of planet Earth, which also includes all of us, all the trees, all the plants, all the bugs, all the water, all the minerals, all the crystals, all the mountains, it includes everything. And to me, one of the best ways in which to tap into that enormous amount of wisdom, but also energy, feeling, being supported and being of support, my strength is your strength is my strength type of energy, is through experiential telepathy. So I really want people all over the world to start developing this, right? Or to get really good at it if you already have it. Because we all have it. It's just that in most people, this capacity is atrophied because all of Act 1, all of the educational system in the world, one of the things that they have very strongly is to delete that skill from your skill set, to delete it, to stop it.
Yeah, and it seems like it takes 12 to 15 or 18 years of repetition
to kill it.
It's not like an easy thing to kill it. Yeah. A couple of side notes to that. We were listening to George Wiseman interviewed on freemantv.com.
Oh, yeah, and
that's right. He was explaining his aquacure. Most he was explaining his life. It's a bit of a life journey story.
Yeah,
what
I love
brought
that
him
interview.
to bringing the aquacure to being.
Yeah.
Device that you use for replenishing the hydrogen and elevating the oxygen levels in your body, the nutrient hydrogen that you're missing. But most of the interview so far has been about his journey.
I love journey stories.
Yeah. And one of his journey stories was about his guidance. When he knows he's on his life plan, it's like a smooth road. And when he gets off of it, it becomes like the edge of the gravel road where it's rocky, bumpy.
Yeah,
And
but
you can feel it gets a little bumpy, and then he steers himself back a little bit.
But it's so funny because I know that you heard it that way, but the way that I heard it was he was walking in a forest,
Mm-hmm.
and he was walking on the forest, and underneath his feet he could feel the smooth road, but every now and then he could feel the gravel on the side of the path.
Trail, yeah.
And then he knew he was veering off course.
Yes.
And then if he gets really off, then he starts kind of climbing on twigs and things, and he knows he's really off. He starts to turn around. But that's the feeling that he gets when he's veering off his life chosen course.
Right, I mixed up his truck story with his walking the forest path story.
Yeah.
But that's how I remember it too. It got rough.
Yeah.
The road, edge of the trail got rough.
I mean, you might be right, but I felt it differently.
No, I think you're right.
Okay.
I think you're right.
And to me, to point out that difference is that when you're feeling it with your body, it's very visceral. Mm-hmm. It's like when I said, when I veer off my path, even on a map,
you get
it's nauseous. It's physical, and it's my physical body feeling really happy when she's on the right path. And it's the same with, let's say, relationships, or where I live, or what decisions or what courses I want to give. They all come back down to that. Do I feel enthusiastic about this, giving this lecture, or this course, or this class, or do I feel nauseous, right? And then if I feel nauseous, okay, I have some of the data must be inaccurate. I better go and revise it. And until I feel really, really good, then I know, okay, this is good.
For me, I get this sinking feeling.
Oh, because you're captain.
Yes. Getting this sinking feeling. That's my first clue.
Yeah.
Look at it. Yeah. And I have gotten that sinking feeling and then looked at the thing and decided that that's still the thing that I need to do to get me back on my path, because I'm a bit stubborn sometimes.
Oh, yeah, you are a bit stubborn.
So, I mean, sometimes I use a sinking feeling process, which isn't the most high frequency way to go about it. I'm not suggesting you do this, but it has happened, especially in the past when I had a lot of what I would call low frequency angels and guides. Before
you clean your entourage.
Before I clean my entourage, yeah. That sinking feeling would be the path that I would take.
Wow.
On purpose.
Wow.
So at the other side of it, I would be cured of whatever thing that I was,
wanting to experience.
I guess.
Don't do that.
Hey, I'm not saying it's the best way, but I'm just saying it did. I'm also saying that it worked, but it was a miserable work.
Well, sometimes if you're addicted to drama, for example, mm-hmm. you will follow that sinking feeling because you need to get your fix. Right? If you're not addicted,
exhaust that experience. Yeah, exhaust
you need to get that fix. Or think that you need to exhaust it in order to go through the other side. But those are just parts of the addiction personality. In my opinion, it feels like somebody who continues to have or go for those type of experiences because they're addicted to that. Or maybe it's because it's familiar territory and they don't know how to function outside of it. Right? So they could keep going back and back, or they're exhausting because,
feels like a combination.
If you think, okay, I just want one beer and that's going to exhaust my desire for the beers, it's wrong, because then you wake up the next morning, you don't even know where you are, because it doesn't get exhausted, right?
Yeah, I was thinking more of a situation where I got involved in that squid boat in San Pedro.
Mm-hmm. Even though all your niggles said not to do it.
No, that wasn't what happened. No? Not at all. No, they didn't get niggles saying don't do it.
Okay.
What I got was a choice point. Mm-hmm. And I knew one side of that choice point was going to be, my entire world was going to get shaken up and dumped out. And the other one, things will be the same.
But the world that you wanted to get dumped out wasn't a good high frequency world.
No, and I needed to disengage from it in some way, but I didn't have the tools or the angels or the guides, or there wasn't a high frequency way that I was cognizant of at the time to move out of it, because it was far too comfortable and supportive and supported. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There wasn't, as it was at the end of that shaking up, it still was barely enough to eject me from where I was and where I wanted to be, you know. And it was extreme. In my book, very extreme, you know. I remember finding myself on the street washing up in the hose outlet in the middle of a parking lot, going, holy crap, is this the reality I'm picking? This is where I want to be? Wait a minute. And it was like an awakening moment too. Yeah. You know, it was a complete, I turned up the knob of awake from -10 up to 0.0001. And it was just still a I, me, myself thing. Yeah. But is this the I, me, myself I really want? You know? So I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but I knew at that choice point in time that this was a thing that wasn't going to be easy, but the end of it was going to... the end of it was like climbing Everest, I guess. It's like, you know, there's not going to be pleasant the whole way up, but the end is going to be worth it. That's how it felt. I'm not sure, and I imagine that if I had instead done Ascension 101, actually done the course and used the tools, I wouldn't have needed any of that.
But what do you think that would have looked like if you had the tools and used the tools instead of going down that path?
Much faster, much more high frequency consequence even, you know? Because the consequence of that destroying, burning down your world, I think that there's repercussions, you know, in your relationships. So like with my kids and things like that.
Yeah.
So those relationships would have come out on the other end different, and I think better.
Okay.
But,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm sure many of the people who are listening, anyone who's listening to this, has some idea of what we're talking about. And they've made these choices and probably been aware of these choice points at a point in their life. And they might, and they most likely are, the majority of us, just becoming cognizant of that, you know? Although there's some that are way advanced, and I'm sure they're like, oh, I knew that, I knew this, and I knew this too. But there's a good pile of us who aren't. And when you become aware of this choice point, in my case, it felt like I had only one choice, yes or no. But there were more choices. Now, in this time, you're not alone. You can, you know, pick that tumbled up, shake the whole thing and destroy it way consciously and go through it and know it's going to be difficult and hard and all that. Not the easiest way, not the most fun way, not the most high frequency way. You can pick that way. Or you can become and stay aware of your choices. Know that maybe you're at a choice point and go through this choice without having to blow everything up, right? Pick a higher frequency path through it.
Yeah.
And those are being aware of a handful of things, like who are the 5 people around you influencing your co-creation, right? Ascension 101 process of some form, and I say that's the best, the most effective one I've ever encountered. And everyone that I know that's done its experience of it, it's like there's nothing else like it, really. That's a complete reconnection and synchronization of all of your subtle bodies. And
your physical one too.
Yeah, all your subtle and physical bodies. And finding your tribe of high frequency co-creators.
Yes.
And supporting and being supported by them, not just finding them, but actually engaging with them.
Yeah.
So they become your 5 people or however many people you want to call it. Yeah. And then you could say, hey, what do you think, guys? Should I buy a squid boat in San Pedro and move away? And they'll look at me like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? We chop liver here or something? let's go pull a card, see what Gaia thinks.
Right.
It's like, why do you want to do this? And so there'd be a form of inquiry that's high frequency in nature, not negative, I guess. Yeah, there's another path through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think?
I think that's true. And the Act 1, what Act 2, Act 3 or whatever's, they're not, it's so easy to fall into the light-dark paradigm of victim-aggressor, right? I'm a victim, we're victims, and they're the aggressors, or vice versa. When in fact, these are collective decisions. And we are responsible for our own experience and our own decisions. And the whole thing about responsible is we're able to respond. We're able to respond. But people who are in a deep unconscious, dreamy, sleeping state, they're not able to respond. They can only react. Right? So they're not actually responsible. How do you feel about that?
Well, I want to talk about, in the second hour, the asleep light workers.
Yes.
Asleep light
workers.
beings.
Yeah.
Who have picked light paradigm and are asleep and want to stay asleep through the process.
Right.
Which is probably the nicest way for a light being to achieve a light paradigm.
I'm not sure about that.
Because
it's a way, but I don't know if it's the nicest way. I hang out with people who are awake through it,
most sensitive,
and that's really
the
way.
most sensitive
really
light
nice
workers. The most sensitive light workers don't want to be impinged in any way with any of the light dark drama, so they probably can't even see it happening. They only that's what I want to talk about.
Okay,
that's why I want to talk about it. It's like, what is the experience of a split as a light worker,
a sleepy
a light being, high frequency being, picking the light paradigm and staying in the dream through the dream. Yeah, something like that. You get it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I got to write it down.
Yeah.
There's 4 things, right? 4 things. Awake, working to keep the light dark's reality alive.
Yes.
Light and dark. And asleep.
Working.
Not necessarily working, but certainly engaged in the light dark.
Yes.
So picking the light dark. Yeah. And then awake, picking the high frequency paradigm.
Yes.
And asleep, picking the high frequency paradigm.
Yes.
Those are the 4 things I want to examine in detail in the second hour.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Whew. Makes my head spin. Do you feel complete, honey?
Oh, yes, I do. How about you, darling?
Boy, I've got the second hour on my mind. So I feel like incomplete, complete.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So how do you get the second hour?
You go to Subscribestar. There's the advanced subscription that includes this. No, that's the basic one actually. Second hour is the basic one at $8 a month, and you get the second hour. And then you have Walk With Me Now. You get the second hour there automatically.
Right.
So that's the second hour options.
That's 2 of them.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yay!
Love you, honey.
Love you too, darling.